transition and I can walk out to the edge of pretty much anything now
Now we're not.
and look down. It's like, geez, if I knew that I could do that 30 years ago,
You would have.
I would have done it in a heartbeat. And we can all do that, you know? And so
Yeah.
that experience proved to me that there was an opportunity for me to kind of, help others overcome all kinds of fears, all kinds of anxieties, both personally and professionally.
Hello, Steve.
Hello, how are you?
Doing great, doing great. Thank you so much for being here today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with you.
Yes, this is great. I'm looking forward to hearing your story. Usually I like to prepare and the information ahead of time, but today it's gonna be first time hearing your story as well as our guest. I usually always like to begin with your journey, when you think of like your hero's journey and when just all the things you've been through in life. When was that moment when the full trajectory of your life actually changed?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a slow transition, or maybe boiling up to a transition, right? And it goes back about 7 years ago. My youngest son was heading off to college. We were becoming empty nesters.
Mhm.
Um, and at that time, my wife and I decided it was time to have a divorce, to take a
Mhm.
divorce. And so that hit me kind of hard. Um, and then at the same time, I think I just had gotten to the point where I was ready to do something different with my professional career. I wasn't sure. I think it was just, in the back of my mind, I've been leading large scale projects for years in project management teams, and I loved it for a long time, but that's not really what I felt inside my soul. Going through the divorce process, meeting with others who are going through that, I just realized it was a time for a change. And so not purposefully, but I ended up through a network of friends, ran into this program called Psych-K. Actually, a book called Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton. And I was just fascinated with it. And so I think I would say Psych-K kind of found me. And so the more I reached into Psych, the more I realized that I wasn't living my life from my true purpose, my heartfelt, authentic self,
Mhm.
and and just went in that direction. And it
Mhm.
was a transitional period. I mean, I worked full time. I started practicing Psych-K, meeting with individuals, helping them through their anxieties, fears, limiting beliefs. And then last year, my organization, which had been merged or purchased a couple of years prior, did another round of integration. And there were several of us that our positions, it's kind of like that mid upper management director,
Mhm.
senior director level, those positions were being eliminated, which was, that happens. That's
Mhm.
for America. And there were other opportunities within the organization, and I just decided to step away. It was, I had the opportunity to do it. I'd already started Psych-K and just decided I'm going to dial it up,
Mhm.
and just go with my heart and go in that direction.
Do
Best
the work.
decision I ever made. I wish I would have done it 30 years ago, but
I get, yes. It's funny you
yeah.
say that. I work in corporate still and in the product management space.
Mhm.
So it is. So
Yeah.
I hear you. Like you get to that point where it's just like, you know what? I'm gonna do something different.
Yeah. And, I think it was always there because leading large scale project management offices and large scale implementations, you're working with individuals that are clinical and technical and very diverse. And in doing so as a project manager, and if you're a product manager, you understand this as well. You're kind of leading the herd, you know, driving them to a shared vision and direction and helping them work through project related issues and concerns, as well as touching on more the personal items for individuals,
Hmm.
and I always appreciated that part of it.
Hmm.
Um,
You really
so
are
I think it was
always in.
always there within me. And it just it was the right time to move forward.
And I do believe, I always think about, you might be familiar with Carolyn Mace. Are you familiar with her? I love her work. She talks a lot about, or there was a video series she put out last year around the hero's journey. And I just think that we all go through that. Like in life, I think there's a point in our life where, you do the trade work, the work that's going to fund and allow you to pay for your bills, but there's always that inner soul work or that thing
Right.
that you feel you're meant to do. So it's like it awakened you to yours and that next level, I guess, for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And within the last 6 months or so, I really started focusing more on YouTube, building a
Mhm.
YouTube channel and trying to understand how that process works. And I was about a month into it, doing some stuff through with Brenda Turner, who I know that's how we became connected. But I reached out and told Brenda, it's like, here's the ironic thing that I just realized, because my background was in communications. Managed out of college, I managed a large video photography department within the
Mm.
healthcare system and transitioned from that into a public relations firm where we were the internet development team. So it was an early, I'm dating myself now, but it was early website development, corporate website
Oh
development
wow, you were there
in an
early.
agency environment. And I absolutely loved the creative component of that.
Hmm.
But I kind of put that aside to raise my family, because it was just a little bit more lucrative to be in corporate America on the IT side,
Yeah.
And so I enjoyed what I was doing, but I've kind of come full circle back to what I went to school for, with respect to the YouTube editing and videos and scripting and all of that. So
Hmm.
it's like life is just a journey and just let it happen. So, and you realize, wow, this has been pretty cool. I went full circle.
Yeah. It's like it prepared you, like all the things that you did when you were younger were preparing you for your soul's work.
Absolutely. I think so.
Yeah, yeah, it really
A great
I've
way to
seen
put it.
that
Yeah.
I've seen that play out so many times with in conversations with folks and it really and then in Carolyn Mason listening to her work, it really does life does this thing where it prepares you. Yeah, interesting. So when we think about your experiences and the hard transition that you had to go through, what really helped you get through? Like, do you think back to any, positive role models that you had in your life, anyone that raised you that was supportive to you through that journey, or just lessons learned from?
I think in my case, it's more lessons learned. I mean, I came from a really poor family. There were six of us, five siblings. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. You know, she was always there, always providing for us, but she
Hmm.
had a lot on her plate. So there wasn't so much as the individual mentoring or nurturing, I guess, as it was, you know, making sure that the family unit together was moving forward.
Yeah. Do you, being that there wasn't, it sounds like the nurturing, do you feel that there were things from your past that kind of carried with you into your adulthood and like with the work that you're doing now, do you see like some of those, the ways you were conditioned, I guess, coming up maybe influenced some of your life decisions?
Yeah, I think so. In both on both sides, so, good and bad, maybe.
Hmm.
Or maybe not bad, but just negative more than positive. But one of my positions that I mentioned, working for an agency, um, and did that for a while, and then a group of us left and started our own. It was a technology-centric marketing company, but this was like at the very beginning of internet website development. And the person that led that effort, he took a risk, and I had never been around anything like that.
Hmm.
And so it was just that positive experience that, you know, we can do this together collectively, you know, and for him to be able to step out on his own from a very secure corporate environment, I think that stuck with me. And I always appreciated being involved in that, but the back of my head is like I always wanted to do that. And again,
Hmm.
felt like I didn't do it earlier, which is okay. Maybe the timing is better now. And then on the other side, and this is interesting because I do focus a lot on anxieties and fears and
Hmm.
where fears come from and help individuals overcome their fears. As I strongly believe that, at the subconscious level, you can transform your anxieties, fears, limiting beliefs, and self-doubts. And
Mm-hmm.
it's, through a process like Psych-K, you can do it really quickly if you're
Mm-hmm.
focused and you have the right facilitation process. I did an episode recently called Fear, I think I called it Fear Starts Here. And I talked about a story with my grandmother who was in constant fear. And I don't try to diagnose what caused her fear, but she always had the presence that someone was watching her, after her, trying to poison her. And I explained she used to take me with her to the mall on the weekends, and I was, I don't know, maybe 8 or so, and she would give me a dime to put in my pocket, in case something happened, call the police. And I think I look back as I started focusing on that. I think that at a subconscious level instilled a level of fear around me, of always needing to check my surroundings and make sure that I'm safe and face the door, when I sit down to eat at a
Yeah,
restaurant and stuff like that. Never thought of that before. And that wasn't intentional. And I think that she had other things going on mentally that may have caused her to feel like that. But it's an example how something so simple like that can instill a level of anxiety or fear in
conditions. Yeah.
in condition. And you don't realize it. You
Mm-hmm.
don't make a connection between that and something else in your life, you know. Um, yeah, and so I think there's little things like that that I certainly went through, came from a very poor family, and so you feel like, this is where I'm at. This is where I will always be, kind of a thing. And you do things that your parents did to survive, you
Right.
know, you know.
So
I
true.
still my kids still make fun of me because I'll get a packet of gum. I will break it in half and take a piece of it. And they're like, why do you do that? It's like, I don't know.
You might
It's
need the
like,
other
well,
piece
it's
for later.
because, well, and it's because it's like I can save, 30 cents or whatever it is from doing. I don't need to do that. It's one of those habits
Wired in you.
wired in me,
Hmm. So true.
and the reality is then things like that can affect you in the future. And it really becomes a challenge if, say, for example, you're in a position where you have to speak in public and you're afraid to go up and speak in public and you have no idea why. But when you know it's your turn, your
You get all
palms start to
clammy.
sweat, your knees start locking up, shaking, and all that. And you could go through, therapy or whatever and find out that, years and years ago, you maybe in third grade, you got up in front of the classroom to talk about what you did on your summer vacation. And, you may have stumbled through your words, or you maybe your zipper was down and everybody laughed. You
Hmm.
don't equate that experience to what you're going through now as an adult. And it really doesn't matter because going through a process like Psych-K, and we look at, okay, so you have a situation where you're uncomfortable speaking in public. What do you want instead? And
Mm.
we focus on what do you want instead? What do you want that experience to be like? And have you
Mm.
ever had an experience with that type of emotion in your life? And then we can re-engineer, if you will, that situation or current situation like that for the future and reprogram it at the subconscious level.
Mm. Okay.
And
Interesting.
so, for example, um, when I got involved in Psych-K, I went to the first workshop and I thought, okay, this will be fun and it's different and very different from what I was doing in IT, And I told myself, it's like, if they break out the crystals, the healing crystals, I'm out of
Yeah.
here. I'll be in Memphis for the weekend. I'll have a good time. And sure enough, she broke out a crystal, but it was basically you take it and, introduce yourself and why you're there and all that. But I had always been very, very afraid of heights. And I don't know why. It just, I was, you
Mhm.
know. So I missed out on a lot of things in life related to that. Hiking in Boy Scouts with my sons, where they would, you know, go up,
Mm,
climb and do stuff. And it's like, yeah, I'll stay back here, like that kind of stuff. And I went through the Psych-K program and was able to re-visualize what that experience would be.
mm,
And I looked at a specific hike that my girlfriend and I do where, this 100 feet up or so at the edge of this cliff on the hike, I always stand back 15, 20 feet,
hmm
But in the process of trying to imagine what I want that experience to be like, I envision myself walking up to the edge of that with
hmm
confidence. For that
Right.
situation, I pulled the confidence of an experience from a long time ago where I wrestled in high school, not very well, but
hmm
long time ago, right? But I won a particular match that was really important for the team for this
hmm
tournament, and just the feeling of having that winning attitude, having my arm raised up after the match. Those are the types of emotions and feelings that I brought into my process of reimagining walking up and looking over the edge to overcome that fear. So I brought in and replaced the negative energy of the anxiety and fear of being up in a high situation with a new experience or belief of self-empowerment.
I like
And
that.
that takes like 15, 20 minutes,
Hmm
so just that fast. I transition and I can walk out to the edge of pretty much anything now
Now and that.
and look down. It's like, geez, if I knew that I could do that 30 years ago,
You would have.
I would have done it in a heartbeat. And we can all do that, And so
Yeah.
that experience proved to me that there was an opportunity for me to kind of, help others overcome all kinds of fears, all kinds of anxieties, both personally and professionally. And so
hmm
that was kind of a big transition for me.
That is very interesting. I like that because are you familiar with Mark Mullen's work? The book It Doesn't Start With You. I don't know
I
if
don't,
you're
I don't know that I am. Yeah.
it's a great read if you ever want to check it out. It's a good compliment for the work that you're doing. But
Mhm.
what I love is like his focus is more is like, what is the root cause? Why did this happen? How do we uncover and like peel back the store or peel back the layers to get to the root cause? And
Yes.
he tells so many amazing stories about folks or individuals who like what you described with your grandmother. I remember a similar story to that in his book, and I did his trainings and stuff too. But I remember a story where he talks about a woman who had that sort of anxiety as well. And interestingly enough, in her situation, she was Jewish. So her grandmother was in the concentration camp and she was carrying a lot of that. So it's, gets really deep into like the ancestral work. So anyway, what I find interesting about your work is that he's focusing on like the root cause, but you're like, okay, we have this feeling, we have this emotion. How do I work through it and think of how I can change whatever it is that I'm feeling in this present moment without
Yeah.
actually addressing the root. But
It's a little bit different because
yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
you can't go back and change anything. I guess it's
Exactly.
good to understand what caused it or why, but that doesn't help you resolve the issue.
Right.
Honestly, with me, I figured out probably 6 months after what caused it. I think it was kind of oh my gosh, I think I know why I've been afraid of heights for years.
hmm
And it's like interesting. But at that point, it didn't matter because it's like
Right.
I'm really not afraid of heights anymore.
Anymore. I love
And
that.
and and it's interesting too. I mean, you take for example, let's say there's a working mom, and because of that, grandpa and grandma help that individual. So they'll go pick up their grandson after school, bring him back to their place. Mom's still at work. Grandma knows it's going to be a couple hours before mom gets home and makes dinner and all that. So she'll make, for example, let's say she makes a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for him, for the
hmm
grandson. Grandpa gets home, the kid goes inside with grandma. Grandpa goes to his garage, his shop, man cave, whatever. The little boy wants to be with grandpa. He wants to go out and
hmm
do cool stuff. Grandma says, you can't go out till you finish your peanut butter and jelly sandwich. He may not be able to eat a whole peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but he's going to do it
Of course.
so they can get out there. Now you fast forward 30, 35 years and you're a grown man, and you go through a buffet or whatever, and you put way too much on your plate or whatever, or even if it's just, you're going to eat it all. You're
Yeah,
going to eat it all just because that's what you've been um,
trained.
trained to do.
Hmm.
I mean, we all have it.
Yeah,
We were told the same thing. Finish your plate before you
yep,
get up,
same.
you know, and you did as much as it hurt. And the child's best interest, grandma or mom or whomever had the child's best interest in mind when they were doing that. So it wasn't, that they were trying to be mean or harmful, anything like that. But it did instill a discipline to an individual who now may have, maybe overweight, may have diabetes, and it's really hard for them to overcome that,
Hmm.
without some kind of subconscious belief transformations.
No, so, so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing and or what I'm thinking of as you're sharing all of this is just like great to have awareness because the first step to change is to have awareness that a change is needed and like have that awareness. But actually, let's focus now that you have the awareness, let's focus on what is the transformation process to get through it so you can make a positive change in your life.
It is, and it's what do you want instead?
Hmm.
How do you want this situation to be? How do you want to experience it when this situation happens again?
Hmm.
In that scenario, it's like I want to be able to go out, maybe go to a buffet, and I'm there, and I
Hmm.
put, you know, the
Oral
comfortable amount
consumption.
of food or whatever, but I have the ability to subconsciously say enough and push it away
Hmm.
without that subconscious, anxiety.
So true. It's
And
crazy.
and
Like,
and it happens with
mhm.
everything, anything. I mean, it's
Yep.
speaking in public. It's anxiety and fear of dealing with money related issues. Uh,
Hmm.
water is a big one. I've worked with several individuals that had fears of water.
Swimming and yeah.
Uh, you know, air travel's another good one. Even driving.
I actually know some folks that won't drive now that you say that because of a fear. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with individuals that this poor lady would drive all the way around town to stay off a highway because of the big trucks, and
Yeah.
called me after one session. So like, I had 6 18-wheelers that passed me.
It
It
would know.
just didn't bother me.
Wow. That's interesting. It's so crazy. Like it just shows the importance of intention, being intentional and really giving some time to areas of your life where there's a change needing and doing the work that's necessary to help you move forward. So,
Absolutely. And it's taking that ownership of the inner wisdom.
yeah.
You have to believe that you can change, and you have to want to change, but you have to believe that your God, your Lord, your Jesus, whoever your divine entity is, wants you to be the best person that you can be in different situations. And you have the ability to achieve that on your own with that
Hmm.
understanding.
Yep.
Yeah.
So true. So, so true.
Yeah.
This is
And it's
great.
so cool when
Hmm.
people go through a transition like that and they're like, this is just amazing. And the good thing, like I said, I felt it. I walked after I went through that first workshop, came back, did a hike back to that place that my girlfriend normally hike to, walked right up to the edge and looked down. I'll be damned. It's
Like it
like,
just
wow.
like a complete wow.
Yeah,
That is something. That is
it's cool. It's a
yeah, it
cool
is.
feeling. Yeah.
It is. Oh, that had to be fun too. I love hiking too, so that had to be a lot of
Yeah.
fun. Um, Interesting. So, one of the things I'm just curious of, just do you have any? I like to ask folks about any traditions that they might have had in their family. Like, did you have any traditions that you established with your family or that you did growing up, or any new ones that you would do going forward as a result of the work that you do and are aware of?
Yeah, not so much. I mean, we went to church every Sunday.
Hmm.
Um, and we had a lot of my dad was the oldest of 13. So
Wow, 13.
we had a lot of folks in the family.
Hmm.
And we would have, holiday get-togethers and a family reunion get-together. And I still schedule a family reunion once a year to try to keep my cousins and their children and stuff together,
Oh,
you
that's
know,
nice.
and that's kind of fun. But that was really the crux of, I guess, our family traditions.
Okay.
But anything beyond that.
Anything you would recommend? Because like doing the work that you now do, like anything that you think would be good for families to adopt, like just curious. Just
Yeah, absolutely. I would say game night.
okay.
My girlfriend is very into games and cards, and we never did anything like that. And I just, I go to her families and they break out the cards, and I'm like, ugh. But we also, oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're
We
good.
also play Mexican Train, and it's
Oh,
just fun.
I haven't heard that
And
one.
it's dominoes. It's basically dominoes.
Okay, okay.
Easy to learn, and so I I got a Mexican train set for each one of my kids a couple years ago when they were still in college. And I thought, I don't know how this is going to go over. And they loved it. And they came back, you know, after the semester and was like, oh my gosh, my youngest son's like, we play Mexican Train in the fraternity, sorority sisters and stuff. It's like, we love it. It's the funnest game.
Oh, the,
I didn't grow up with that, but we really didn't do that so much. Um, I was a workaholic, and so for me, it was always work, and I had large teams that I was in and systems that I was responsible for. So even going on vacation, I always had my cell phone. I was always taking calls, and it was a point of frustration for my former wife, I know. And I look back
mm,
and I realize it's like, I did a bad job, or not a bad job, but I
the
didn't do a great
normal.
job of
Yeah.
balancing family and work. That's a lesson learned for me, but I really think that people need to be able to realize the importance of that family quality time. And yeah, I mean, we still had a great time with our kids and stuff, but I think there would have been opportunities there to put down the phone, you
Hmm.
know, and be in the moment with the family a little bit more.
No, so true.
So,
It is something we are severely lacking as a culture, just
yeah.
that quality time. It feels like maybe people are starting to wake up to it a little bit now based on, the trends and what you're seeing online, and people realize the phones are a problem. Technology and the
Yeah,
phones
I
are a
think
problem.
so. I think there were some blessings coming out of COVID. I think
Yeah,
as
yeah,
horrible as the COVID
yeah,
period was, I think people realized the importance of self-help,
yeah.
and really kind of reaching out for help and not
Hmm.
being afraid to reach out for help,
Hmm. Yeah, that and
especially men. I think that's really hard for men, to be honest.
yeah, it is.
And even now, most of my clients that I work with are women. You have some men,
Hmm.
but mostly women. A lot of young professionals trying to get to that next level and trying to get over some of these anxieties and fears, and, imposter syndrome's a big one. You're promoted as a new manager, new leader, or whatever, and you often feel like you're just not qualified. You
You're gonna
have
be
that.
figured out.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think, yeah, and even seniors, people more at my age, they're still, I always find it interesting that folks are still struggling through things
Yeah,
that they are still dealing with their parents or whatever, or broken relationships and trauma. We all
yeah,
have it. There's nothing to be ashamed of for any kind of a fear, trauma, whatever, but it affects everybody, all ages.
it
And so
does.
if there's something like that that's still bothering you, reach out.
Hmm.
If one thing doesn't work, try something else.
So true.
You got to find the therapy or the approach that works best for you.
Hmm. Yep, so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. My next question, usually like what I like to close with and all of that is when you think about the future generation, you covered a lot of great points. So when you think about the future generation, what would you want them to know? What would you want them to know? And then my final question is, how can folks find you?
Great. Future generations, I want individuals to have the level of confidence that they can do whatever they feel like they should be doing, from a true, authentic self perspective, because you have to be you have to be authentic to yourself and very well grounded to be there to support others. I'm not saying, to be self-centered, and that's why my organization is called self-sovereignty.
I like that.
Self-sovereignty doesn't mean you're self-centered. It means you're well grounded in who you are, what you believe in, your purpose, your goals, and you take ownership of yourself, but you don't necessarily feel like, you don't have to take ownership of others. You're there to help guide and protect and support unconditionally. And so if you can get to the point where you can observe and be in a situation where you have sympathy, empathy for individuals, but you don't put yourself so far into it that it affects you, and you provide the support they need to help them move forward with unconditional love, whether you believe in what they're doing or what they're struggling with or not, that's between them and their God, you
Mhm.
know.
So
But
true.
you have to be well grounded. And sometimes that process, I have a free downloadable about living life with purpose and trying to
Hmm.
understand your purpose, You're going to get to that point first. And then from there, you can start doing the work that you need to do to become your true authentic self.
So true. I have to say, on this journey of like, once you know what your purpose is, it really is one of the best transformational tools for yourself.
Absolutely.
It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah. And then, things happen every day. You're going to have little things that pop up,
Y-
a fear or an anxiety. That's life. That's
Yeah,
okay.
I was gonna say,
Work
such
through it.
is life.
Work. Yeah.
So true. So, so true. I love it. And where can folks find you if they want to come hang out with you? And I know you mentioned that downloadable.
Yeah. So if you go to my website, self-sovereignty with a hyphen,
Mhm.
.com, that's my main website. And then I do have an offers page. It talks about like the free downloadable. And then I also have a program site called shedyourfears.com for individuals that want to take it a little step further and do some fear work on their own, self-paced type program. So that's available. And then of course, my one-on-one coaching is available through self-sovereignty.
Awesome. I'll make sure to
Yeah.
include all that in the
Okay.
show notes.
And I
Yep.
actually set up a couple codes, like discount coupon codes.
Okay.
So on either one of those sites, if you put in RBW and then _001, and I can send that to you. It's basically raised by women
Oh,
underscore
I love that.
001. They put that in as a coupon code and you'll get discount on one-on-one coaching or
Oh,
on one of the purchase programs. Yeah,
awesome. I'll make sure to include that as well so that folks can
absolutely. Yeah.
utilize it.
And certainly, I also have just, a free touch point one-on-one just to see like a 15-minute conversation to see if it's the right fit. Because I do believe that, you have to have that right fit with a facilitator. I don't consider myself a healer. I know in some different
Mhm.
modalities, individuals say they're a healer. And Psych-K, when we're focused on Psych-K work, um, it's considered do with. My
Mhm.
role as a facilitator is to provide a safe space for an
Mhm.
individual and to help guide them and facilitate a process.
Mhm.
Their role as a partner, and we call our clients partners, is to come in with an open mind and a willingness to believe in themselves
Mhm.
and through the spirit of their higher power to transition and improve in an individual level.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
people seem, I honestly think Psych-K is one of the best science-based programs for transformation. And I know there's a lot out there. And so, you got to find the right program um,
Mhm.
that fits, from an individual perspective.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I
Yeah.
definitely will have to summarize some of that too in the show notes and a little bit more
Oh,
about
that'd be great.
Psych-K.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll
Yeah.
definitely include all that. But this was great. This was great. It was lovely meeting you and lovely having this conversation.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity again. This was fun.
It is. It was. All
Yeah.
right. I'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
All right. Thank you.